it means to be a yogi, or it means to engage in spiritual practice. So we have to be strong enough to be able to look around the world and see what's going on and not collapse and not become apathetic and not get scared. That takes a lot of strength. And so our spiritual practice then becomes a place where we're going to get that energy. We're going to get that intuition and that sensitivity, because the intuition is going to give you the capacity to maneuver through an increasingly sophisticated input stream all over, the planet. You can get input, you can get news or information from all sorts of sources that weren't available 10, 15, 20 years ago. So there's a lot of input. And then intuition and the energy that you get through your spiritual practice and the clarity you get through clearing your mind through meditation gives you the power to then sift through the information, that the input that's coming in a way that you can, one, see some of the truth that may be hidden. Because there are powers on the planet that are interested in hiding the truth. Do we know this? Right? So, and that's not like some, like conspiracy thing. That's just, everyone nodded their head in here. So we know on some level that, that there are powers interested in that. So we want to have enough power in our intuitive mastery to be able to maneuver whatever streams are coming at us. And this has to do with a world event. This has to do with a relationship. This has to do with our businesses, our careers, this has to do with our child rearing, how we raise our children. All of it is connected. So we're going to work today, and the energy is very profound, and it's also very subtle. So we're going to go into some very subtle spaces so that we can start to develop these promoting habits. And my challenge for you is that I'm going to give you a couple things that you could take with you and you could practice for the next 40 days, which Yogi Bhajan, in the lecture that I'm quoting him from around these promoting habits, he gave it in 1969. It was a very early lecture that he gave when he first came to the West. And he basically said that you're either participating in demoting habits, and the thing about the demoting habits is that one demoting habit has 4 sisters that it invites along with.
That's so sure.
So with one demoting habit, you get 5. It's a real deal. Okay? And one promoting habit starts to, especially when practiced over a 40-day course, and in our Sangha we're kind of like 40 days, just do it for 40 years. I mean, what else are you gonna do? As Dylan was saying to me, there's a meditation called Sudarshan Chakra Kriya, which he does every morning, very happily, and he was saying to me, like the 2.5 hours. What do you think about doing the 2.5 hours? And my new quote is, what else are you gonna do? I'm going, why not? For 40 years, not 40 days. But we'll start with 40 days, okay? So we'll commit, if you would like to start to create promoting habits, because we live on a polarity planet. So one or the other is happening. You're not gonna get out of the need for habit in this body. There's a need for structure. So we're either creating a promoting habit or the demoting habit and the 4 sisters. And that's that's basically what we're engaging in. So in a stream of self-mastery, the more promoting habits we're creating, the more we're gonna be able to promote ourselves, which means get energy, which then means that you're going to have enough energy to be able to be generous with those that you come into contact with. So that may mean generous in spirit, generous in presence, generous in prosperity, because the reason that, and I've been talking a lot about this, it's an 8-year, it's a Saturn year, it's a year of your work paying off, and it's a year of hard work so that your work can pay off. And so we got to get into this prosperity stream now. It's really important. And again, promoting habits, demoting habits, prosperity, lack. And it has nothing to do with what's in the bank account. It's, Chogyam Trungpa, who's a Tibetan Buddhist teacher, he calls it nouveau riche samsara. It's a great term. But basically, it's talking about the lack, no matter how much we have. So he gives the story, you know, what we have enough to buy a $3,000 bottle of wine. We don't drink in this lineage, but it's from the Buddhists. They like a little sip sip. So, you know, we have enough to buy a $3,000 bottle of wine. And the moment the bottle comes to the table, the mind's already worried about, how many drops? I wonder if the waiter, you know, took a taste, or did they drop any, you know, drops on the way here? And all of a sudden, you're already in lack. So it has no, you know, these streams are, it doesn't matter. You know, you may have enough money to buy the $3,000 bottle of wine, but the suffering comes immediately if you're not in the prosperity stream, right? So again, prosperity, lack. And so when we lock into the promoting habits, we start to lock into this prosperity stream, and all the hologram of our lives are affected by that. And the reason why we're interested in that is not to, get so much money that, you know, no one else has any, or you know, whatever. The thing is, we're interested in becoming so prosperous in spirit, in energy, in creativity, in harmony. Because when you're so prosperous, we're working a lot with the relationships right now, because that's a zone. You know, when you have enough harmony, so you're locked into these promoting habits and there's enough harmony coming through you, you could do something really revolutionary, which is you could make the other person's point of view more important than your own. Which means, and I've been saying this, which means you will never get in a fight again with anyone. The moment someone in front of you feels like you have put their point of view, you know, even as important, but you could get really revolutionary and make it more important than your own. The moment you do that, there's no, you know, you should try getting in a fight then. It's impossible, right? So part of this prosperity is we have enough harmony, we have enough generosity, we have enough energy that as we go through the time and the space, we have just so much to give. It's just the natural outpouring. And that's self-mastery. But self-mastery does not come from doing the same thing with the same people at the same time, all the time. We just know that, right? So we have to start to create promoting habits. And many people are suffering on this planet, and with that suffering, and we see it today when, you know, 1 million people are marching in Paris and all over Europe, and the Palestinian president and the Israeli president are marching together. You know, this is a major situation that is happening today. You know, they didn't stand next to each other, but they stood on the front lines together.
Yeah.
That's huge.
The mastery of unison, unity, right? And the only way that's going to happen, Yogi Bhajan gave us this. This is a scary fact. It's nothing like a little, you know, scare to get you going. The sane person has 27 fractures in their psyche. That's sanity. So then when we start to get into any kind of mental imbalance, whether it be a small to a large mental, emotional, physical imbalance, you're working upwards of that 27 fractures. So when we're interested in this integration and this unison, we're working to start to kind of heal these chasms in our psyche. And so we're actually going to do a meditation that will be one of your take-home meditations that is aptly named Meditation for Insanity. And it's awesome, especially if you don't think you're insane. that's first indication. But what it does, you know, it has a dramatic name, but what it does is it helps to knit back some of these chasms in our psychomagnetic field, in our aura, whether there's been recreational drugs or trauma or abuse of any kind. And, you know, the interesting thing about abuse is that in the reptilian brain and in the limbic system and in the nervous system, you could have been left in your crib for 15 minutes while your mom, drank a Diet Coke and ate some bonbons and wished she would have never had you, but, nothing happens. She just needed a break. She was sick of you. All the mothers in here are like, because nobody wants to talk about that part of motherhood, right? That could have been what happened, and lodged in your amygdala is, I've been abandoned. There's like major trauma lodged in the reptilian brain, which then you spend the next 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years recapitulating in every relationship you have on this planet, and then you die. Or you could be severely abused, and some of us were. Some of us were severely abused and traumatized, and all sorts of really horrible things happened to us, and that's real. Both of those things can lodge in your nervous system and your limbic system almost in the same way. So whatever, amount of whatever you've been through in your timeline, that stuff gets lodged, and we have a technology, it's not the only one, but it's a very quick technology, which I'm very interested in, because I don't have a lot of time, and you guys don't have a lot of time, and so you have to do something to start to repattern those magnetic patterns, because what is karma? Which, it's thrown around a lot in the New Age lingo, but what karma is it's a magnetic pattern that, because of its momentum, it has to complete itself. And so, in order to, and there's like a cliche kind of quote that got pulled out of the teachings. It's like, something with your karma, you eradicate it with your dharma. I'm hacking it, but it's like, clear your karma with your dharma kind of thing. But what that basically means is that as you start to lock into your self-mastery, as you start to unify, as you start to get more energy, you can start to demagnetize cycles that are karmic or magnetic, that are just trying to complete themselves, because that's what they do. So that's just the law of the universe. But you can start to demagnetize them, which means they don't have to complete themselves anymore. And the way that we're going to do that is with promoting habits. Okay, so let's create some new habits, and it may, or, the addiction meditation, who's doing the addiction meditation? Because does anybody want to say anything about what that's done in their lives, people who are practicing it?
It's acted like a miracle. It's like I'm unrecognizable from a year ago when I started it.
Yeah.
All the things that were the major things are fading off or completely almost gone.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else on that and practicing addiction meditation want to share something?
I'm letting go of stuff. It doesn't matter, nothing matters. I'm getting like nothing matters.
Yeah.
And, oh well.
The mantra of the Korean age, whatever. You sleep better. Okay, okay, that's cool. I mean, just not as much kind of subconscious stuff going on. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, so the commitment is 3 minutes a day. The longest 3 minutes you ever did. I mean, isn't it? Is it the longest three? I mean, I look at my clock like 17 times. It's like impossible how many times I look for the 3 minutes. It must be almost every second. But this is the thing. We're creating, and part of why it's so effective and can be very challenging. Some of you it'll be like, this is fun, and there's always those weirdos. But part of the reason is that you're literally demagnetizing one little second at a time. You're pulling off the magnetic charge of these incarnational patterns that have pulled you off of your highest stream of destiny. So that could be shooting heroin, that could be being obnoxious, that could be breaking up with every partner you've ever had before they break up with you, or whatever the thing is. It could be all sorts of different things, in any kind of self-sabotage. And there's a great little story about it, where this woman who was a housewife, she would find herself, when she was doing her housework, that she was cursing her husband and her sons the whole time. She hated them doing their